right, got my boy Pin Srey here. Pin and I have known each other for a long, long time. How many years has it been? Probably 05-ish, 06?
Yeah, probably 2006. So
Yeah,
14.
2006.
Yeah,
Damn, almost 15 years, bro.
time flies.
So I love Penn because Penn is a true entrepreneur, serial entrepreneur, started a ton of businesses, but we trace our roots all the way back to working at an insurance company when we were felt like we were kids at this point, in our early 20s, and kind of finding our way as business people. But since then, both Penn and I have left. Obviously, I started the Gents Place. Penn has started a bunch of businesses. But what I love about you, Penn, is you're one of the most positive, uplifting guys that I know. And I think that's been a big part of your success, is just seeing an opportunity. And like Emmett and I talked about last week on our podcast, is that adversity can be the birthplace of innovation if you choose it to be. A lot of people hit adversity and it wipes them out. They hit adversity and they get depressed. But I think you're of that mindset that when adversity presents itself, um, it spurs creativity for you. It spurs ingenuity. It spurs innovation. All of that stuff. That's what I've seen in you. And I think that's because of your mindset. You're out in California. You got a bunch of businesses that are rolling out there. Um, your business has been adversely affected like everybody's, right? Like,
Mhm.
what are you telling yourself right now to just try to get through some of these times? Because we all have this kind of inner dialogue, but what are you saying to yourself? How are you kind of processing everything?
Well, I'll start by saying thanks for having me on and putting all this
Mm-hmm.
together.
Mm-hmm.
I like to think that my positivity is a product of my environment. And, I learned a lot of that from you and being surrounded by guys such as yourselves and getting the opportunity and, um, I guess, fortunate opportunity to be able to rub elbows with you guys. So thanks for putting this together and really trying to lift spirits in a very tough time for,
Mm-hmm.
the world. As far as your question in terms of how we've been dealing with the adversity at hand is, you know, the thing about it is it has slowed it's slowed society down as a whole. And
Mm-hmm.
it's been tough and everyone's been trying to kind of figure out the best way to deal with it. Obviously everyone's dealing with it differently. And for us, the biggest thing we've done, and I learned this actually back in the TWG days, is not to look over the fence. We can only control what we can control. We can't control too many external forces.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and for us, we've really just tried to internalize kind of the situation, why we're specifically in it, and what we can do to get out of it better than we went into it. And so the nice thing, ironically, about that is this whole shelter in place. In California, they're taking it very seriously. Gavin Newsom put shelter in place probably a month ago now, and everything has been a ghost town, which has negatively impacted many of businesses. But it's allowed us to really take that extra time, make contact with people, and check in with people, better ourselves, right? So
Mm-hmm.
whether that's reading a book, whether that's hopping on the many online um, classes and whatnot, courses that are available to us, is we've really tried to kind of take this extra time. I was joking the other day, is I feel that working from home has been more productive for our leadership team because we don't have
Mm-hmm.
to get in the car, and California traffic's brutal.
Oh yeah.
So it's like we're able to hop on meetings a lot quicker, though it's all through via the web, whether it's a call or a Zoom or Ring Central, which is still powered by Zoom, or FaceTime. We're able to really hop on. There's no drive time. It's like, oh, I have a
Mm-hmm.
meeting. It starts in 2 minutes, and you just switch over. You don't have to prepare for a 15-minute or 30-minute or 1 hour drive sometimes out here. I mean, we're in Orange County, and though LA is maybe 30 or 40 miles away, it could take 2-3 hours depending on traffic to get there, and that really
Mm-hmm.
impacts our day-to-day operations.
You've got tens of millions of dollars in sales, hundreds of employees. When you are looking at coming out of this, in terms of that, remote working environment, are you thinking about changing anything permanently in how you guys work? Like, does the office space go away for the executive team, or are you going to opt to post COVID stay out of the traffic and start doing maybe some of your weekly meetings or other meetings remote?
I mean, we've definitely given it thought, and this is something we've been batting around because I feel as though, with everything going on, everyone's really just been digging their heels in, and there's been a tremendous amount of accountability. And, it's even though someone's dialing in and behind them is their living room, or behind them is their dining room or their kitchen or wherever they're set up, we're working and everyone's available. And so it's an idea definitely that's extremely interesting. It'll certainly help, overhead expenses. And we've seen that it's been effective. So it's definitely something that we're considering, especially during this period of time. I mean, we're in the same bucket as everyone, like you mentioned. We have significant operating expenses, and we have many employees who are being impacted by this. And I think, in line with many of the business leaders of our community and the world over, is taking the best strides so that there's a business left after this, right? Taking the best strides to preserve cash outlay and, really try to stretch out, because though, the pandemic will likely go away in the coming months, the economic impact might be a few years. The last time you and I saw an economic downturn was 2008. And, I've been trying to really draw the parallels between the two, because that was a really bad time. There was a lot of people losing their jobs. It was this whole global credit crisis, a lot of unethical business practices or whatever that led to it. And it really froze the markets up. And what I saw is government assistance went to banks that were too big to fail. And it seems like right now, government assistance is going to small business owners and to really our general population to try to jumpstart the economy. And the two biggest differences I've seen is then lending was very, very, very restrictive, right? Truth in lending, I think, what they're the two
Dodd-Frank or something.
All that stuff came out. It became nearly impossible. I remember I bought a house in 2011. I mean, I think they took a blood sample. It was impossible. I mean, it was even too difficult to get a car loan. And right now, I mean, lending is just wide open, right? So those are the big differences I've seen in these two crises that we've seen in our professional and personal lives, in terms of how things are very different now.
So true, man. I was just getting off the phone. I was telling you earlier about a member of our team who also supports some other franchise systems, and you have a $3 billion a year franchise system, $250 million a month in revenue going down to $5 million. They are in many cases, many scenarios, they are too big to get funding from the government. And it was kind of an older concept. He's saying they may just go away because they probably should have gone away some point in the last 10 years, but they were kind of hanging on. So he was saying the same thing. He said, what's different about this is that money's going to small business. Money is cheaper than it will ever be in our lifetimes. Money is easier to get. And the combination of all of that and millions of people getting laid off has them reevaluating, do I really want to work for the man? Or even if they're a small business owner, was I really happy doing what I was doing before? And it's an opportunity to reset and go, you know what? I'm not going to go back to work. I'm going to buy a franchise. I'm not going to go back to work. I'm going to be a freelance writer and travel the world. That's what I always wanted to do. But this, as Emmett says, the pause for the cause, right? It's like everyone's pausing, whether it's for a cause that is outside of them or just for themselves, to take a moment to reflect on what they want to do. But it does seem like the environment is very ripe for growth when you look at all of those things combined. We just haven't seen it before.
Right.
That's exciting. Like if you're this business owner that is sitting there in the freeze mode going, oh man, this is going to be terrible, I don't know how to get out of it. I like hearing your mindset and that of so many other people that join the show. It's like, dude, just wait. It may take a little while, but you kind of combine all these factors and it's going to be pretty special for growth.
Yeah, it's certainly been, a really uniting thing, right? So, everybody's in the same boat. I was saying a second ago, it's like, oh, you don't want to look over the fence, but we're all within the same fence. Like everyone
Mhm.
is being impacted in a significant way, by this pandemic and economic downturn. So, so it is kind of making the best out of it and trying to turn out of it the best way that we can.
Mhm. Do you, in your particular businesses, do you see competitors going out of business and an opportunity for you to capitalize on that? That's been discussed quite a bit on the show, that some people just aren't going to survive.
Well, to your points a second ago, right? Like the franchise model you were discussing, they maybe, it was a little bit dated, though they experienced success. They were really just kind of, riding it out. And maybe this is the thing, like call it the great equalizer. It's like, hey, we probably should have gone away a couple years ago or months ago or whatever. And now this is probably the easiest time for us to do so.
Mhm.
And I think that certainly in my business, that's also the case. There were some operators that were on kind of a loose footing, and
Mhm.
they've taken this as kind of that last straw. Like, hey, we gave it our all, and we're going to go away, and it provides us with unique opportunity, because um, we can capitalize on kind of that unclaimed market share now,
Mhm.
because these guys are going out of the business, so we can effectively come in, and since we're able to still do business and we feel very confident we're going to be around after this thing, to really be able to capitalize on that. So
Mhm.
we've seen many instances of that, um,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah. I mean, I think that person, that guy, or that girl that was working in corporate America, maybe as a business executive, they've got a bunch of management experience, um, and they want to do something different. They want to run a business. One thing that seems to be almost certain is that private equity had all this money on the sidelines for years because everything was too expensive to buy. Ton of dry powder. Seems like that dry powder is going to be unloaded on buying businesses, and they're going to need people to run them. So, what do you think about this whole idea, this concept of like, maybe you weren't kind of getting right where you wanted to be in your business? You think there's going to be some opportunities to maybe connect really good quality talent with private equity? I mean, because it seems like they'd be looking for business operators, right, to run some of these things they're buying.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. At the end of the day, what I have seen kind of close to me specifically is, I've seen kind of friends, colleagues of mine that work for big cosmetics companies and, do really well, but work virtually. Maybe they work on their e-commerce platform. Maybe they do graphic design. Maybe they run their marketing or advertising, things that can be done remotely. And of course, these big companies are being impacted and they're scaling back and they are, furloughing employees or they're cutting hours. And so I have seen this trend around me whereby a lot of these, quote unquote employees, corporate employees, are now becoming more freelance 1099 entrepreneurs and, creating, whether it's a site for themselves and their talents and skills, or creating a profile on Upwork.
Mm-hmm.
And so I have seen that trend happening more and more these last few weeks, and I
Yeah,
think it falls on.
fractional resources, right? You're not, your business isn't a position where you can have the full-time CFO, but you can grab that fractional CFO who got laid off, the fractional CMO, the fractional writer.
Yeah, I have a friend who works for, specifically speaking, she works for a major cosmetics company. And so, she's fortunate to not be, laid off or furloughed, but she is having to take a reduction in pay. And in doing so, she's almost working like a pilot schedule, meaning
Mm.
she's on for 3 weeks and she's off for 2 weeks effectively. So that 2 weeks, she's really trying to fill her time and kind of backfill her income. And that's who I was speaking to specifically, whereby it's like she's finding this as an opportunity to kind of step out now. She's forced to do it. She would otherwise have been very fearful in doing it.
Mm.
But since she's in the circumstance, and to what we spoke about earlier in terms of just, really inexpensive money, a lot of credit available, a lot of government assistance, because, you know, she's also going to, during that period of 2 weeks or whatever, she's effectively part-time unemployed, you know, and right now that's something that we've seen really rally, right? Over the last 2 weeks, I think 10 million people or something like that have filed for unemployment. And I know specifically in the state of California, who's not always the most efficient at doing certain things from an agency standpoint, they've cut down the time requirements to really kind of to validate your unemployment benefits. So they've cut there's usually like a 1 week processing window here in California. And what we've found and what we've been educating our employees who have been impacted, you know, by kind of a temporary layoff situation, and we've been helping them through that, is they've eliminated that. And as soon as you apply, you're immediately in queue to start receiving your benefits. So, you know, these are all situational things that can significantly improve kind of the status quo for a lot of people, you know, on their next opportunity.
Yeah. It's using all of your knowledge, your experience, the intellectual capital you have, or you and your friends have that have been laid off, is tapping into their assets that you've built up over time, you know, and it's, the world is flatter than ever. Like you mentioned, Upwork, UPWORK, used to be Elance way back in the day. You can upload your profile on Upwork and you can start writing, you can do business analysis, you can put together financial statements, you can do web design. Like pretty much if you have some level of experience, you could get on a website right now and start charging for your services. So I think that's incredibly motivating for people that got laid off. They're not sure if they're going to get hired back, but they love what they do. They're passionate about web design or writing or whatever it is. You can do that from the couch. You can watch freaking Tiger King and write a book for somebody at the same time.
Yeah.
May not recommend it if it's a professional book, but it could be done, right?
All context, all relative.
Okay, so, you know, I had to go there. I had to go to Tiger King. Have you watched the show yet?
I haven't, but I have gotten the cliff notes from my wife. So I haven't watched it.
You know, you're a trustworthy guy, and I've known you for a long time, and I'm inclined to believe you on that. I haven't met too many people that haven't watched it, though.
It is the #1 trending Netflix series.
Yeah.
But I have not watched it.
Well, you know what? I'll be the one with the integrity out of both of us. I watched it. I watched the whole thing.
I was advised not to. They're like, man, it's really crazy. It's really out there. Probably better that you don't spend your time doing it. I'll be honest. I'll tell you what I did watch. I watched Ozark season 3. So
okay, I've heard of that. I've heard I need to watch that next.
I did do that. So
I cannot get the time that I spent watching Tiger King back. And so that is something that I have to live with for the rest of my life, you know?
Yeah.
But the gratitude I'm finding in a show like that is some people need an escape from reality. I think we all, at least maybe right when it hit, maybe some people are still in that place, is there is some sense of joy that comes out of just watching something that's silly, watching something that doesn't matter, and kind of getting out of reality for a little while. So I'm grateful for that. Speaking of gratitude, you know, you're a guy that definitely is a grateful person. I think you've experienced adversity through opening, you know, businesses, some successful, some not, to get you to a position where you are today. I mean, what are you, during this time, is there anything that's popped up for you that has caused you to feel a sense of gratitude, maybe that you didn't feel before or you neglected before?
Well, like I mentioned earlier, you know, we have a lot of extra time. And so the thing that I'm grateful for is using that to reconnect with people, or to connect more often with people. You know, for instance, you and I, we generally check in maybe monthly or every other month or whatever, but I've talked to you almost every day for the last month, which is cool because it's like we still work together, you know?
Yeah.
And so that's something I've been tremendously grateful for. And on the whole, a lot of my network, everyone's been tremendously, you know, kind of positive and uplifting and really trying to make, you know, lemonade out of lemons that we've all kind of been dealt. So just that. And, you know, my wife turned 30 on Saturday. We were supposed to be in Tulum. We brought Tulum to Orange County for her, but in that I was looking through, you know, a collage of photos through the years. We've been together for 8 years, and you know, I saw some photos. I went to a fundraiser, I think, with you, and I just looked through many of photos on Saturday and trying to put this collage together. And you know, what I'm extremely grateful and fortunate for right now is really to be able to weather this a little bit more comfortable, you know, than some of the adversity or times of adversity I faced in the past. You know, you mentioned, you know, I've had many of business endeavors and I've definitely taken it on the chin a lot. And, you know, and with that have failed many a times and have always, you know, those points of failures have always been springboards for me to be introspective and to learn, you know, how did I mess up? You know, it's like when we were kids trying to learn how to ride a bike, you know, we use that expression all the time. It's like, oh, it's like riding a bike. Well, when you first learn, you definitely fell and it definitely hurt. And you learned like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have pedaled that extra pedal and it wouldn't have hit me in the shin or whatever, you know? And so for me, I guess what I was saying, it's just, I've really been able to look back and be extremely grateful for overcoming, you know, that adversity and using it as a springboard and looking through those pictures this weekend and putting a lot of things in perspective. It's like, hey, this is bad and it sucks, but we're all in it together. And I've definitely been in situations in the past that I felt were far worse and, you know, darker. And so that's what I'm extremely grateful for is those past experiences. It seems like they prepared me to really provide, you know, kind of a overall positive impact through this, which I've had to do as a business leader and I've had to do as a friend and colleague. And, you know, that's a big part of this series that you're doing now is really, you know, helping people who are really, really having a tough time grasping with this and helping them overcome. Because it's, you know, at the end of the day, contributing in a very positive manner to community, right? Collaboration and community.
Yeah, you've fallen on your face several times. I've fallen on my face several times. We talked earlier before we got on about how falling on your face several times prepares you for a situation like this. You have some people that this is the first time they've fallen. And the first time that we all fell, you know, our egos were bruised more than our faces were, I think, you know, because we're proud business people and we want everyone to know how great we are and, you know, that we're making things happen. What advice would you give somebody right now that's just, it's the first time they've fallen in on their face, and with that, they think the whole sky is falling, with you having been there before? Like, what would you tell that person right now?
I mean, I would really echo a lot of the things that I've said throughout all of this, right? So, you know, at the end of the day, we generally as human beings have deep rooted, you know, call it a deep rooted mechanisms or fibers within us in terms of things that happened when we were kids. And the two things I remember is when I was trying to learn how to ride a bike, I fell a lot. And when I was trying to learn how to rollerblade, I always joke, I don't have a backside anymore because of how much I fell on my butt when I was trying to learn how to rollerblade. But no, I would echo those things. It's like, hey, try to learn from this. Think deep down inside how you can control your ecosystem and, you know, look at the positives. The positives are, I mean, man, there's been a tremendous amount of unity and just everyone is more gracious. Everyone is more willing to help and they're nicer. You know, the amount of compassion that's come out of humanity, and to be able to see that all these health professionals and grocery stockers and delivery drivers, you know, it's been amazing to see. And then, like we said a second ago, credit has been more available to us ever than before. The minimum for the PPP or anything SBA is 520. You know, it's like, what? When have you ever been able to get anything from SBA with a 520 credit score?
I mean, you would have had to pay nobody back in your life ever.
Ever.
SBA is saying, here, we'll give it to you.
And if this is the first time that, you know, let's say you had an 800 credit score and you may lose that house, or you may lose that car, and you may miss payments or whatever. Well, you know, most of these banks and most of these institutions are going to be very forgiving and negatively impacting your credit during this period of time. You've got a 90 to probably 180-day window to make right, but you got to be, you know, proactive with it. And if someone has found a lot of success and they are 35 or 40 and they've only ever been successful, I mean, dang, they had to do something to get there, right? So it's like you did a lot of things right and use those, you know, to your benefit now to kind of spin out of this thing and just be proactive and communicative. Like at the end of the day, in general, you know, having the tough conversations. Hey, if you can't pay your bills, call the bank and tell them I've been negatively, severely impacted by COVID-19 and I need help. You know, it's like, it's a humbling conversation. It's not an easy conversation, and you'll be surprised what you hear back come from the other side of the phone.
I totally agree with you, man. And as entrepreneurs, we hate to ask people for things. We're the ones that provide. We give the jobs. We do all of it. And we don't like to ask people for anything, but we are doing this together. And I totally agree with you. You'll be surprised at the compassion that's on the other side of the line, because we all kind of dehumanize the bank. I don't want to call the bank. You're not calling the bank. You're calling another human who has to make a decision on whether to work with you or not. And I'm experiencing the same things that you are, is when you don't dehumanize that, and you know there's another person on the other side, if it's a landlord, if it's a bank, if it's a merchant that you work with, they're humans making decisions. And I'm finding that same level of compassion. I haven't called any vendor, anybody, where they said, go pound sand, buddy. They've all said the exact opposite. Let's work together. I don't know how you're keeping your hair looking so good, but you know, I got my gents hat on for you, just for you. You know, if you want a gents hat, I will ship it out to California. I should have put it in my last package to you. Put it in your
last package, yeah.
Dang it. Okay, but I will ship you a hat. I don't think you need it.
That's appreciated. Yeah, I'll rock it. I'll rock it. As long
looking good.
You know, maybe in California that may be the popular cap, but I'm a Texas boy through and through, and I need a little curve in it.
You need that trucker hat.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, you're more like a trucker instead of a flat bill kind of guy. I agree.
There you go.
All right, man. Great chatting with you as always. It was a blast. I'll probably talk to you 2 or 3 more times a day, and maybe tomorrow until we get through all of this. But hopefully, keep that trend up.
Sounds good, man. Have a good one. Let me know.
All right.
Help any way I can.
You too. See ya.
All right.